Hi guys, it's Shane. So in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about the two types of business owner, because there really is only two types of business owner. And from what I see, we've got A is the guy or girl who is a victim of the self-employed trap. They've started a business and they have ultimately created a job for themselves where they have to show up every day to keep that show on the road. And then we've got the business owner who understands delegation, who understands leverage, who understands systems. Now, maybe they started off their business in the same way as the guy or the girl who ultimately ended up falling victim to the self-employed trap. But they soon realized this, and they realized that they are the bottleneck within the business. This exact situation happened for me when I started my advertising business back in 2017. First year or two was pretty much all me. And I eventually got to the stage where I realized that unless I could start to replace myself and remove myself, that the business was not going to grow anymore. It was heavily dependent on me. I'd never be able to sell it. I was reading a book back at the time called Built to Sell or Build to Sell. Fantastic little book. But it talks about how you should, productize your service, systemize your business, and ultimately build an asset that is independent of you. And that's exactly what I focus on now, is helping other small to medium-sized business owners to escape the self-employed trap, to build an asset that cash flows regardless of whether they're there or not, so that, God forbid, touch wood, if something happens to you, whether you're in an accident or you fall ill or whatever, you get hit by a bus in the morning, that your business can still run without you. That if that happens, and you're bedbound for the next 6-9 months, you still get paid every week or every month because you've got other people to run the business for you. You've got good systems in place. Okay, this is especially important if you have a family who depend on you, depend on your income, depend on your business. But there's two types of exits that I speak about. So we've got an operational exit and we've got an ownership exit. Ultimately, an operational exit is what I done with my advertising company. So I still own that business. I still have it. I was actually working on it a little bit today and just some new marketing campaigns and tweaking the sales process and stuff like that. But I rarely work in that business and I've got a good team in place. In fact, like the first key hire I made was hiring somebody in to take over the work, because when I started that business, like I said, I was one-man band. I was on the tools doing everything. But what consumed most of my time back in the day was actually providing the service to my customers. And I find that's the same with everybody that I work with. I work with car detailers, landscapers, musicians, contractors, digital marketers, and everything in between. And, they often find that actually doing the work consumes most of their time. And then in the evenings, they're trying to manage the bookkeeping, the admin, the sales, the invoices, and everything that goes with it. And that was me back in the day. I had thought that in order for me to build a business, I had to be the one who was skilled at providing the service. And while that is true, it's only going to get you a job. That's enough to get you a business that provides you with a job. But you're going to hit a ceiling with regards to how far you can scale that business, how much money that business can earn. And you'll see that with the majority of self-employed business owners. They get to that stage, they get stuck in that stage. And this may be you listening to this video right now. You're at that stage, you're a couple of years into running your business, but it's still heavily dependent on you because you're the one still providing the service. The sales still have to come through you. You still have to price the work. You have to approve everything. You have to sign off on everything. If something goes wrong, all falls back on you because your business lacks structure and lacks systems. And that was a mindset that I had back in the day as well. It's like, well, if I'm building the business, I have to be the best at providing this service. And for me, it was paid ads, it was advertising. So I studied and I learned how to do it. But when I got to that point, I was like, right, I'm just going to bring somebody else in here to see, can I offload, can I delegate the service delivery to somebody else? So I brought someone in, someone who was more qualified than me, was better at me than doing it. Lo and behold, everything improved. Not only did it free up at least 30 hours of my time per week, but the service that we were providing got better because this person I brought in was better than me at it. And that's another thing with delegation as well. When you bring somebody in, especially if it's like a real specific specialist role and you're hiring an expert to come in, they're probably going to have a different way of doing things, and that's okay. Once they're achieving the same outcome, once the standards and the quality are still being achieved. And you do this by setting KPIs and putting SOPs in place, which I'll talk about in a moment. But the path of getting there, not that it doesn't matter if it's the same or not. You're still going to have similar tools and similar strategies and similar systems. But when it comes to delegating within your business, try not to hold on to things too tight. Don't be afraid to let go a little bit. Bringing in, especially if you're bringing in a specialist, let them do it their way, pay them well, and just check in every so often. Once the outcome is the same, how they get there is not as important. If they do things a little bit differently to you, that's fine. And again, that's where the mindset element of delegation comes in, because a lot of people, a lot of business owners struggle with that. They think, nobody is going to be able to do it as well as me. Nobody understands my business like I understand it. Nobody does this way. They're going to do it that way. They're going to mess it up. And look, people are going to do things differently. But look, what is it that you want? Do you want to just have a job, or do you want to actually have freedom? Do you want to build a business that you can step back from? Do you want to build a business that you could sell? Because right now your business probably is not sellable. Now, some of you watching this may be in your 20s, 30s, 40s. You're not even thinking about selling, but you do want to step back. You want to get your time back. You want to have a little bit more security by knowing that your business could run without you. But I know there's some of you watching this, and a lot of my viewers are planning ahead. They're trying to put an exit strategy in place. They don't have a succession plan. They know their business is not a sellable asset right now. They're approaching retirement age, and they want to be able to not just sell their business, but actually maximize the value of the business. So how do we do that? Well, the path to getting to either an ownership exit or an operational exit is exactly the same. The methods, the strategies, the tools, the systems, it's all down to systemizing your business and delegation. Okay, the path is exactly the same, and you need to think from the perspective of a buyer. And even if you're only starting out, guys, build your business with your exit in mind. Even if you're on day one of your business and you're 18 years old, build with your exit in mind. It's going to make your life so much easier. You're going to have so much more free time. Your business, you're going to have so much more control over it, and it's going to be much easier to scale your business, right? But what's a buyer going to look for? Well, number one, and I can speak to this from the buyer's perspective as well as kind of the business owner's perspective, because I set up a private equity firm, Coolstown Capital, and we're constantly looking for well-established businesses that we can buy, that we can acquire, to have good systems in place, good teams in place. We're looking at a business at the moment where it's completely owner independent for the most part. It's been running for the past 17 years. For 15 years of that 17 years, it has the same general manager in place, and it has staff of maybe 9 people. And the reason that business is attractive to us to acquire is because it's heavily owner independent. The guy that owns it has a completely different, he doesn't spend time sitting in that business running it every day. He has other businesses, he has other investments, and he kind of set this up as a side thing 17 years ago. So what is a buyer going to look for? Owner independence. If you go to sell your business and the buyer asks, what is your roles within the business? How many hours per week are you spending within the business? And what is that time being spent on? If you're coming back, well, I'm responsible for taking the sales calls, and I'm usually driving around and I'm meeting with clients, and then on the weekends is when I usually follow up with the invoices and the receipts. But that's a bit of a headache because it's all paperwork. I'm trying to find receipts from last week that the lads in the van have, and I can't find it. So I usually drop over to the accountant then, and I give them in the invoice book and whatever receipts I have in the shoebox. All of this stuff is just red flags, and nobody's going to want to buy your business. But not only that, your life is going to be hardship if you don't have proper even systems and softwares in place. A basic cloud-based accounting software like Xero, QuickBooks, is going to move everything. So you really want to be paperless as much as you can. Invoices, receipts, all that sort of jazz. Get yourself a bookkeeper. You don't have to hire an accountant full-time into your business. Every small to medium-sized business has an accountant because they help with the setup and the VAT and the tax returns or whatever. But you should have a bookkeeper as well. It does not need to be a full-time bookkeeper. Go out and get a bookkeeper who is self-employed, freelance, whatever it is, and just get them to come in and do a couple of hours a week to tidy up bank reconciliation. Let them look after the payroll. Let them look after the receipts. Let them look after the creation of the invoices. Like, I know for myself, and when I get a lot of the guys to do, if an invoice needs to be created, I'll open up Slack. So Slack is internal communication app, and I recommend that to everybody that I work with. But there are other systems and softwares you can use. If I need an invoice created, I will open Slack. I'll open the dedicated channel that I have set up for the bookkeeper, and I'll send a voice note in, and I'll say, hey, can you create an invoice for this person? This is the email address. This is what it's for. This is how much it's going to be. If it's recurring, if it's not recurring, whatever it is. It takes me about 15 seconds to pick up the phone, record a voice note with the details of that invoice, and then it's done. The bookkeeper looks after it. I tag her in the message. She'll go in, she'll send me back a screenshot. So we have an SOP. An SOP is just, it's a set of instructions on how to do something. Obviously, the bookkeeper that's with us now knows exactly the ins and outs of what has to be done. But within the SOP, it shows her, right, when Shane sends in a voice note for a new invoice, here's the steps. Create the invoice, do this, open Xero, and then send a screenshot back to Shane for review to make sure he's happy before we send it out. So, if I was to do that, imagine trying to do that paperless and we didn't have Xero. It'd take up hours per week if I was doing even just a handful of invoices. But even if we were using the cloud-based accounting software such as Xero, but I was responsible for going in, clicking, opening Xero, logging in, typing in the customer's details and typing out all the details of the invoice and then checking it and sending it out and then following up on it the next day or the next week. It's madness. All these little low-level tasks build up over time and they just eat away at your time. So by the end of the day, you've spent all day just working on low-level tasks that are not moving the business forward. And this is where things start to slip through your fingers because you don't have proper systems and structure in place. So guys, if you are a small, medium-sized business owner and you find that you're just chasing your tail, you're running around in circles, you don't have proper systems in place, you don't have proper structures in place, you don't even have the basics in place like an org chart or SOPs or a KPI dashboard. And to be fair, 95% of the business owners that come to me for help with systemizing their business and helping them get exit ready is what I call it. So like I said, the path to getting to an ownership exit or an operational exit, the path is exactly the same to get there. And I call it getting exit ready because once you get to that stage, you have a choice. You can make the decision. Do I want to keep the business as a semi-passive asset, cash flows every week, regardless of whether I'm there or not, if I'm out playing golf or traveling through France, or maybe I want to be there. Maybe I always go back to the example of the carpenter who set up their business because they just love making cool stuff out of timber. And that's fine if that's what you like doing, but why not build your business in a way that you can rock up and build stuff out of timber if you feel like it that day or you want to work on a certain project. But if you don't want to, or if you can't, if you're sick or if you're traveling, if you get something on or something happens, you don't have to because you got people who will still look after your customers. They'll still provide the stuff and make the beautiful things out of timber for your customers. New customers still come in. So getting to that stage, getting your business exit ready, getting to the stage where you have that option, you can make that decision whether you want to sell it or keep it for the semi-passive cash flow. The path is exactly the same, okay? There's certain things that you have to do first, okay? It's important not to put the cart before the horses, to say. And I see it with business owners a lot of the time is that they understand that they're the bottleneck. They realize that all of their time is getting wasted on these low value tasks. So they try to delegate and they bring people in and they just kind of push some of the chaos over to more people. And even when it comes to hiring in people, they don't have any real structure to how they're doing it. It's ad hoc. It's just spontaneous. I need someone to bring them in. How much do you want? Right, you have to bring in the wrong people, and if you bring, it only takes one bad apple to ruin the bunch, to spoil the bunch, as they say. I think that's the saying. But all it takes, to make one wrong decision and things can get worse. And what I always say is put structure in place before you start to build a team, because you can't scale chaos. If your business is chaotic right now, and you just bring more people in, you're just spreading the chaos across more people. So before you go to scale, before you go to expand, get things in order. Put some order to the chaos. Get some structure, even just basic structures in place. Tidy things up a little bit. Then you can look to expand. Then you can look to scale. And it's going to be a lot easier, a lot smoother, and you'll be able to do it a lot faster if you do it right. So don't put the cart before the horse. Embrace the mindset of delegation. You know, don't be holding on to things too tight. It's like the saying is, you know, if you want to grow, you have to let go. Put the right people in place, put the right systems in place. And guys, look, if you need some help with this, click the link somewhere around this video or on my channel, and feel free to reach out. I've got some other training videos and all this sort of stuff. And if you have any questions you want me to cover on the channel, pop a comment down below. I'll make sure to check them out and make a video based on it. All right, guys, thanks for checking out the video. I'll see you all on the other side.